So when making a site visit in a high tunnel, it's important to take in a lot of the information about the site itself, followed by information about the plant or whatever the problem is. So my 5-point suggestions for making a site visit. First, I start by just taking note of the site itself. So for example, this high tunnel, it's 3 rows wide. It's a small high tunnel. So what else can we see about this high tunnel that's really important? So what is it? What type of ventilation? Is there a heater? What about the doors? The sides are rolled up. So we take those types of information and we consider those things. So we're irrigated. Another example is that we have woven cloth on the entire ground and we don't have any exposed soil. All of those things are important as we start considering the next steps. The next thing we do is we consider what the problems are within the whole house. So usually if we're doing a site visit, it's because there is initially a problem. So what is that problem? What is the pattern of that problem? So example here, we have plants of different heights. We have plants that are off color. We see missing plants here in this tunnel. That's really important to take in. Where are those patterns? Are they all on one side? Are they scattered? And if we were in a greenhouse, for example, would those affected plants be near the fan or near a door, near the heater, those types of things. The next thing we think about is the plant itself. So as we look at a problematic plant, we might want to consider where the problems are within the plant. So are the problems on the top side of the plant, maybe in the lower canopy, inner canopy, that type of thing. The problems in the leaves, or the problems in the fruit, or if it's an entire branch or limb, tracking back and determining where exactly the point of origin of that problem is. If an entire plant is affected, we always have to think about the root zone or the stem at the ground level. So it's really important that anytime we do a site visit, we always look at the ground, we inspect what's going on, we determine the health of at least the crown of that plant. Looking at what weeds are there, looking at whether there are any fungal growth or any kind of fungal propagules or structures there. Very critical as we work through. Now, if we were to take a sample, it's critical that we take that sample, making sure we have representative tissue that's the problem or whatever the reported problem is, as well as some healthy tissue. So there has to be that comparison. In some cases, we would take an entire plant, or we would take even the root ball. So depending on what it is, if it's an entire plant or if it's a very tricky situation, we need as much information as possible. And then the final thing we would do is we would examine whatever the affected tissue is, we would examine it more closely. So that is the final piece of a diagnostic field visit, is that we look very closely at what's going on. So for example, if I have a leaf, would I tell, is there marginal leaf scarch, or there are spots, chlorosis? So what in particular about that affected tissue is different, and to describe that very well. So this is the way we're going to do a site visit and collect all the information. Let me also remind our viewers that humidity is really important in a high tunnel or in a greenhouse, especially in terms of disease. Plant diseases are usually proliferating at about 70% humidity and higher. So it's really important that all growers, all high tunnels have some type of weather instrument so that temperature and humidity can be monitored. And even though a high tunnel is covered, they're usually not well ventilated, especially in the springtime. And also with the constant watering, there's always a lot of humidity here. So to keep those humidity levels below 70% is something that every grower should shoot for. If those humidity levels are too high, it will really be impossible even for fungicides to be effective. So it's really important that knowing the humidity and the environment in a high tunnel is part of that information that is used in terms of communicating with specialists and diagnosticians.